Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. Sylvia was standing at the counter, polishing the same glass over and over. I set my briefcase down and said, "You've been quiet lately." She didn't turn. "You're reading into things again, Warren." Her tone was flat, clinical. "I'm reading what's there," I said. "You used to talk to me when something was off." She placed the glass down carefully. "Nothing's off. You just think too much." That was her new trick, turning concern into accusation. "I think enough to notice," I said, leaning against the fridge. "You've been miles away all week. You eat in silence, you sleep late, and you call it peace." Her shoulders stiffened. "Maybe I'm just tired. You ever consider that?" "Tired people rest," I replied. "They don't disappear while standing in the same room." She turned then, eyes sharp. "You always want to fix things. Not everything needs your inspection." "Marriage does," I said. "Otherwise it starts to feel like a waiting room." She smirked, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You make everything sound like a project." "That's because I work in results," I said. "If something's broken, I fix it." She shook her head and grabbed her purse. "I'm going to yoga. Don't wait up." The front door shut like punctuation. I stood there for a moment, listening to the silence settle. That's how it started. Not with shouting, not with slammed doors, but with small, quiet things that didn't belong. I thought maybe space would fix it. But when silence becomes a routine, it's not rest, it's distance. We had a neighborhood game night coming up. Cornhole, burgers, and the kind of small talk that fills a Saturday evening. Sylvia had helped plan it weeks earlier, wrote it on the whiteboard herself. Robert's cookout, 6 p.m. That afternoon, I walked out with the cooler. She was on the couch scrolling through her phone. "You ready?" I asked. "For what?" she said without looking up. "The cookout. You told Mia you'd bring dessert." She sighed. "Right. I'm not going." I paused. "You're the one who planned it." "I've got a headache," she said, still scrolling. An hour later, while I was at Robert's place flipping burgers, her social media story lit up on my phone. A picture of her wine glass, captioned "Self-Care Night." The headache must have healed fast. When I got home, she was watching a show, acting like nothing had happened. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Why wouldn't it be?" she said, not looking up. "We RSVP'd together. You bailed. That reflects on both of us." "Oh my God, Warren. It's a neighborhood party, not a board meeting." "That's the point," I said. "If we can't show up for small things, what happens with big ones?" She muted the TV. "You're turning into a supervisor. Nobody likes that." I stood there, calm. "Then let's make it easy. From now on, we each handle our own plans. You confirm what you attend, I'll do the same. No more guessing." "Sounds controlling," she said. "Sounds fair," I replied. She rolled her eyes. "Are we going to separate our dishes next?" "No," I said, "but we'll separate our spending. Joint account for bills only. Your extras are yours, mine are mine." She gave a dry laugh. "You're making a spreadsheet over a missed barbecue?" "No," I said, turning toward the hallway. "I'm making order out of noise." Her voice followed me. "You're exhausting." "Then rest," I said without stopping. That was the night I stopped chasing conversations that only went one way. The following weekend, Sylvia asked me to come with her to pick out a new washer. Ours was old, sure, but still spinning fine. I went anyway, thinking maybe running errands together might thaw things out. At the appliance store, the salesman started listing features. I mentioned we had a budget cap. Sylvia laughed, a short, sharp sound that turned heads. "He says that like we're broke," she said to the clerk. "He's allergic to spending money." I looked at her. "That's not fair." She grinned. "It's true, though. Remember when you wanted to research toasters for a week? He treats purchases like case studies." The salesman chuckled, unsure whether to laugh or leave. I nodded once and said, "We'll think about it." Then I turned and walked out. She followed, heels clipping fast. "Warren, what are you doing?" "Leaving," I said. "You turned a private discussion into a performance." "Oh, come on," she said. "I was joking." "Jokes land differently when they come from respect," I said. "That wasn't one." She huffed. "You're overreacting." "No," I said, unlocking the car. "I'm just done pretending disrespect is humor." We drove home in silence. That night, she came into the office with coffee and a small apology. "I shouldn't have said that in front of him," she said quietly. I get defensive sometimes. Defensive about what? I asked. Feeling managed, she said. You treat everything like a rule. I treat things like agreements, I said. You keep breaking them. She stood there for a moment, then whispered, Can we reset? You can, I said, turning a page in my notebook. I'm staying steady. She nodded, walked out, and shut the door softly, as if she didn't want to wake something. After that night, I stopped expecting apologies to equal change. I started watching her actions, not her tone. By Thursday, she was back to laughing at her phone late into the night, screen lighting up her face like she'd found a better audience somewhere else. The house got quieter after that. Not peaceful, just quiet in the way waiting rooms are. We spoke less and less, except for practical things like bills or groceries. One evening, our neighbor Mia stopped by to drop off a package that had been delivered to her by mistake. I thanked her, and before I could close the door, Sylvia called from the couch. Tell her you're busy managing your budget spreadsheet. Mia blinked. Everything okay? I smiled lightly. All good, thanks. When the door shut, Sylvia looked proud of herself, like she'd scored a point. You think that's funny? I asked. Lighten up, Warren, she said. Everyone knows you're serious about everything. I'm serious about respect, I replied. You should try it. That night, I moved my bedding to the guest room. The next morning, she stood in the doorway with crossed arms. So this is how it's going to be? Separate space, I said. Not punishment, clarity. She laughed, but there wasn't much humor in it. You sound like a therapist. Maybe one of us needs to, I said. This constant sniping isn't a marriage. It's noise. For the next few days, we moved around each other like polite strangers. She started leaving the house later, dressed sharply than usual. Evening yoga, she said once, grabbing her mat. At 9? I asked. They added late sessions, she answered quickly. I didn't argue. I just said, text if you'll be home after 11. I lock up then. Her eyebrows rose. You're setting a curfew now? No, I said. I'm setting boundaries. She rolled her eyes and left. That night, I got a text at 10:59. 3 words. Back home late. Cool. I put the phone face down. By the weekend, the distance between us wasn't just emotional. It was architectural. Same roof, separate worlds. That's when I knew something had shifted for good. Not because of a fight, but because neither of us cared enough to have one. One Wednesday night, she said she was heading to a late yoga workshop. Her mat was still sitting by the coat rack. I waited 2 minutes, then drove out. Not speeding, not angry, just curious in the way calm men get when they already know the answer. She didn't take the usual turn toward the studio. Instead, she veered left toward downtown. I kept my distance, headlights off when I could. She parked near a building with a sign that said, Salsa Nights, Beginners Welcome. I sat across the street. 10 minutes later, I saw her through the wide front windows, laughing, spinning, her hand in another man's. He looked mid-30s, fit and confident. The kind of man who'd think a ring on someone else's finger was just a decoration. When the music stopped, he helped her with her coat. His hand stayed on her back longer than necessary. They left together, walked to his car, and drove off toward the river. I followed, slow, invisible. They parked near a townhouse, the lights came on, and then the curtains closed. That was enough. I took 3 photos, the entrance, the car plate, and went home. I didn't slam doors. I made tea, sat in the den, and stared at the clock until the minute hand lined up with midnight. When she came in, she smelled like perfume that wasn't hers. You're still up? She asked, dropping her purse. Working, I said. She smiled too easily. Don't overdo it. You look tired. Good night, Sylvia. She hesitated, then nodded. Night. The next morning, I called Javier, an attorney a friend had recommended once. Just want to understand my options, I said. He asked for details. I gave him the facts, nothing more. Collect everything. Stay calm, he said. Don't make threats. Make records. I thanked him, hung up, and went for a run. When I got back, Sylvia was humming in the kitchen, making breakfast for the first time in weeks. Felt like cooking, she said. I nodded. Good for you. Inside, I'd already started packing. The week after the discovery, Sylvia turned on the charm like a switch. She made coffee the way I liked it, left small notes on the counter. It all felt like a clearance sale on affection. Friday night, as she was leaving, she said, "Don't wait up." At 10:40, my phone buzzed. "I need time alone." I stared at the message, half a second of silence before typing back, "Didn't know solitude had a first name?" No anger, just truth. 10 minutes later, tires screeched in the driveway. The door rattled, the key turned, and Sylvia rushed in, face pale. "Why would you say that?" she demanded, breath short. I stood in the hallway. "Because you've been rehearsing alone for weeks. I just confirmed your part." She froze when she saw the suitcase by the wall. "What is this?" "Your things," I said, "and your copy of the agreement." I pointed to the folder on the dresser. Her voice cracked. "You packed my stuff? Warren, this is crazy." "No," I said evenly. "Crazy is pretending we still have something worth unpacking." She stepped closer, eyes wet but sharp. "You can't just decide this without me." "I did," I said. "After you decided without me. More than once." She grabbed the folder, flipping through the papers. "You actually talked to a lawyer?" "I talk to people who make things official." Her hands shook. "You're throwing away years." I met her stare. "You threw away trust. Years are just numbers after that." She blinked fast, trying to hold back tears. "You'll regret this." "No," I said quietly. "I regret waiting to see who you really were." Sylvia looked around the room like she didn't recognize it anymore. Then she dragged the suitcase out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was peaceful. The morning after she left, the house felt strange, lighter, but empty in the corners where her noise used to live. By noon, I got a call from Javier, my attorney. "She's reached out," he said. "She wants to negotiate." "Of course she does," I answered. He chuckled. "You have everything documented?" "Dates, photos, accounts, all clean." "Then we'll keep it professional," he said. "No speeches, just signatures." Over the next few weeks, Sylvia tried every version of herself. Angry, apologetic, pitiful, charming. One day, she sent a message. "You really think you're better off without me?" I didn't answer. When the paperwork finally landed in my inbox, it was clinical. Numbers, assets, timelines. She tried to claim more than she'd earned. Javier handled it like math, not drama. The result? I kept the house, the savings, and my quiet. She got her car and whatever she could fit inside it. A few days after signing, Robert stopped by. "Heard she moved into an apartment near the lake," he said. "Good for her," I replied. He nodded slowly. "You holding up?" "I'm not holding anything," I said. "That's the point." Word got around that she wasn't doing great. She'd left the job she once bragged about, bounced between friends' couches, tried a few dramatic social posts about self-discovery. The likes came slower each time. I didn't hate her. Hate's still a form of attention. I just didn't engage. By spring, the divorce was finalized. Javier sent the last confirmation. Case closed. That night, I opened the window and let the air in. It's strange how peace doesn't announce itself. It just shows up quietly when you stop arguing with what's already gone. Inside, the house looked different now. The guest room, my den, had turned into a small gym. The dining table I built years ago now doubled as a workbench in the garage. I wasn't fixing the house. I was fixing what lived inside it. I didn't miss Sylvia. I missed the idea that things would ever be simple. A few weeks later, she texted again. "You act like this was easy for you." I looked at it for a while, then put the phone down. Nothing about it was easy. It was just necessary. Life moved forward in small, solid steps. Work, gym, Saturday hikes, Sunday games at Robert's. I met new people. Priya from accounting invited me to lunch. We talked for hours about everything except pain. Alexandra, a friend, joined us one evening for coffee. I wasn't chasing connection anymore. I was allowing it. Sometimes I'd think about that night she texted, "I need time alone." It had felt like the last test. My reply wasn't meant to wound. It was just the truth spoken out loud for once. And when she came running back, it didn't feel victorious. It felt final. Now, when I lock the door at night, the quiet doesn't ask questions. It just sits there, earned. I don't wait for anyone to come home. I'm already here. If love ever shows up again, it'll find the door unlocked, but only at a reasonable hour. That's not revenge. That's closure. And closure, I've learned, sounds a lot like peace. Thank you for watching.